Well, look at what we got here. It's episode 64, Rule of Two, Rise. Hashtag everybody in the chat room. Thank you for joining us here. And we have a special guest joining us here that I like to call George Lucas, but he's known as Josh Robert Thompson. How are you, sir?
I'm very well.
And Marc Fernandez joining us as well. This is great to have you here, man. Thank you for.
Thank you.
I speak for all of us here at Collider. Loved the video that we did, the deep fake. Your George Lucas is off the charts. Marc Fernandez is obviously monitoring the chat. How are you, sir?
I'm all right. I don't see the show. There we go.
No, okay.
Now it's real.
Yeah.
Now it's
just
real.
a little bit of delay happening, but that's all. The Rule of Two Army is here. It is episode 64.
Yeah, I can see the chat starting to fill up.
The chat is starting to fill up. But first off, let's talk about the George Lucas video that we did do last week.
Yeah.
Doing some good numbers there, Marc Fernandez.
Yeah, man, I want to address a few things with that. You know, I've had the privilege of working with Mr. Josh Robert Thompson now a few times.
Yeah.
You know, there's another project that we've done together that has not yet been released.
Yeah.
So
which is off the charts.
It's off the charts.
Yes.
It basically takes what we did last time and pushes it to 11.
Yeah.
You know,
You
so
say it's an 11 then.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But mine goes to 11.
It goes to 11. It goes to 11.
Yeah, a little
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. Jesus, what's wrong
This
with that? I'm getting
is
old,
Spinal
man.
Tap.
That's it, Spinal Tap.
But Josh Robert Thompson is here with us. He wanted to come on the show, wanted a chance to chat with the fans, hang out, talk Star Wars.
Right.
Because Josh is, and he and I have been riffing over the weekend, he is a hardcore Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
It's the only reason he was able to capture as well as he did George's vibe and persona, which I think he did so well in that video.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't seen that video, go check it out.
Yeah, guys. The sign of it doing so well, not only the technology that we're utilizing here, but your impression. So many people thought it was real.
They did.
I
yeah.
saw a lot of comments that were like, "Is this?" He's like, "Yeah, we got George Lucas to walk through the door and do a reaction here at Collider."
His head seems pretty big. Something's wrong. Something ain't right.
I mean, that's a sign of a good. I did a George Lucas impression for our thing, and some people thought it was me. God bless you for that, everyone. But
yeah. So
no way could I do it like Josh.
So many people thought that you were doing the trailer reaction,
right?
Which is a testament to your own acting skills.
That's true.
I suppose. But,
did see that.
there is no. I can't touch this man's George Lucas.
Well,
I can't touch
it comes from a place of love. That's what I want everyone to know. That's why I'm on here. I love and admire George Lucas. He's my favorite filmmaker. Obviously, he's innovated so much in cinema. There's no question about that. But yeah, that whole thing came from a place of love. And
of course.
And I love the prequels, and I want to be emphatic. I want to be emphatically clear on that.
Yes,
I love that.
It was a sarcastic comment that I made as George Lucas, making fun of the haters, because for 20 years, I've towed the line for the prequels. Everyone was talking shit. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's on board again.
Isn't that funny about the fandom is that, for so many years, people just they were disgusted with the prequels.
Yeah.
And I went through my phases with the prequels as well, and then I've come back around to where I truly enjoy them. I'm an original trilogy guy. You all know that. But the prequels I respect and I love now, and they're in my rotation.
Yeah, look, for me, the prequels, I had a tough time with The Phantom Menace when I first saw it. I liked Attack of the Clones a little bit more.
Yeah,
and I absolutely loved Revenge of the Sith from the second I saw it.
Right.
You know, and my love for Revenge of the Sith happened to coincide with my playing of Star Wars Galaxies.
Right.
And then it gave me a newfound love for 1 and 2. So, yes, but you're right. They have aged well over time. I mean, look, this weekend I was lucky enough to see Dr. Sleep. Right?
Yeah.
The Shining now is regarded as one of the greatest horror films ever made. Let's not forget that if you go back and Google 1980 The Shining reviews, it got slammed.
Including the author of the book, Stephen King, hates that movie.
Yeah, people didn't like that when it came out. Sometimes things age well over time.
Well, if you go back to the original trilogy, if I may just jump in as George Lucas, just to prove to everybody that I do the voice.
Good to hear you. Good to have you here on Rule of Two, George.
I appreciate you guys having me, and I'm glad your video is doing well or whatever. But anyway, the point is, when Empire came out, people couldn't stand Yoda. They didn't like the way he spoke. He was kind of weird pidgin English.
Yep.
And a lot of people hated 3PO at the end of that film. He was very annoying. I find it annoying, and I made the film. So, well, Irving Kershner ultimately made the film, but I made a better film.
George, you make a great point. Empire was not really well received at the time when it came out, and now look at it. It's universally accepted as the favorite of everyone.
Sure.
Most fans.
The
I would say.
Ewoks, you guys got all upset about the Ewoks.
The Ewoks were another.
But I will say these ridiculous, what were those little penguin creatures, owl
The porgs.
creatures?
The porgs.
Who even gave a shit about them? They were advertised. They were in the film for 2 seconds. Best scene is when Chewbacca is eating one of them in the saga. All right.
Yeah, in the saga.
Thank you,
like
guys.
so.
Thank you.
Okay,
He does say
so,
saga, by the way.
Yeah,
so
saga.
leave me alone.
That's saga.
So look. I mean, look. We're about to close out this little cold open, but bottom line is, all of this stuff that we do comes out of a place of love.
Yeah.
Because we love this fandom, we love this franchise, we love Star Wars, and I've always made the analogy to having a favorite football team. Your football team might be bad and might go 0-16, like the Dolphins probably will.
Right.
But it's you tune in every game. And
Right.
maybe if you have criticisms against it, it doesn't mean that ultimately your love supersedes that criticism.
I totally agree, and I know that it's a very divisive time amongst the fandom right now, and that there are certain pockets that really hate the sequel trilogy, and they make YouTube videos, and they do all these things. I know at the end of the day, even though I don't agree with them, and I don't like getting harassed by all this, I know that there's love there, that they really wanted something, and they're expressing themselves. Now, there are ways... If you express yourself in a certain way, I can react to it, and so I don't like it when some people come strong or hard at me, but I know it is. We all love it. And so when I think of people saying, like, boycott Episode 9, how
Absolutely
can you
not.
possibly do
Opening
that?
night. We're there. By the way, we're doing a screening of it. It comes out on a Thursday. We have a Collider screening on Friday that we might try to get some folks to come out to.
Would George Lucas show up at that? Would George Lucas be there?
I think George Lucas is boycotting Episode 9, and
you-
he's standing out in front with a sign.
There is
maybe.
there is a video, if you guys look it up, of a video I made at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim where I'm boycotting Force Awakens.
I saw
I
that.
saw that.
That's why I brought it
That's
up.
one of my faves.
Yeah,
we
trust
may
me.
have
Great.
him back.
Yeah,
he may
yeah.
come back.
That would be great.
We should absolutely do that. We should absolutely do that. But yeah, let's go into it.
Yeah, let's do this real quick. A shout out from Japan. Finally got to catch you guys live. I usually get to listen on the commute to and from work. Keep up the good work. So Samuel Cornett.
Thank you,
Thank you
Samuel.
on the super chat. And with that, we're going into the episode. It's Rule of Two, episode 64. Rise. All right, that's right. It's episode 64 of Rule of Two. It's here on Collider Video. We go live every Monday at 5 p.m. If you're listening to us on the Jedi Council Podcast 1 feed, thank you very much for joining us and listening to the back. As you heard up top, Josh Robert Thompson is on the show. He was our George Lucas in the deepfake video that we did that is doing some great numbers right now.
We're almost up to 1,000 live viewers listening right now.
1,000 live viewers. Look
Yeah,
at that.
let's
Rule of
do
Two
it.
Army in full effect here. The Big Mac is coming in hot. Thank you for joining us here. What would you like to start with today, Fernandez? We have rumors of a Mandalorian trailer dropping tonight.
Yes.
Has not yet dropped, as far as I can tell.
Yes, and
Cody
if
is in the booth. Cody, if you do hear anything, please let us know. And hi, Cody. How are you?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
It's going good. Cody, did you watch the George Lucas video?
Of course, it was great.
Did you like it? Did you laugh?
Yeah, I laughed a bunch of times, man. You did a great job.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Thank you, man.
Good. Cody's like the barometer.
That's high praise right there.
Yeah.
That's
'Cause
how you know.
He's the only one I really care about here in Collider is
Yeah.
Cody.
So
and what
getting
does he think.
that praise is the equivalent of George saying,
It was good.
It was good. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
By the way, so here I am. I'm going to say this right now, and I'm not going to give any specifics.
Please.
But those of you who have been following the video, there's a few things I want to address in it. But one of them is that Mark Hamill commented on it. Okay. And he said, I won't comment on the content, but I will have to say that was the best George Lucas impression I've ever seen.
greatest moment of my life. Greatest moment of my life, number one.
Really?
That was number one. Because
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker tweets at me and says, this is a great impression.
Yeah.
Then he
No,
tweeted
not
me
only
again.
great, the best
ever.
ever.
And then he tweeted me again.
But what did he say?
And
What-
said,
what-
I really thought that it was George at first. Like, you really had me fooled. He had once again to have another comment for me.
I mean,
So
that's
it was-
high
it was
praise, man.
Pretty exciting.
How does that make you feel, man?
Well,
Wow.
as a Star Wars fan, I was elated. But I have to tell you, because voice acting is my main gig, I was even more excited because Mark Hamill's one of the greats, and he's a fellow voice actor. And to get the seal of approval from him
that's a good
is a
point.
huge deal.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was
yeah.
two
That's a
things
good
for me.
point.
Yeah, really excited about
I was very
Wow.
excited when Mark Hamill tweeted at it. You know, that was like early on when the video had first come out. On Saturday morning, I woke up to about 3 different texts from 3 completely different people. Well, I'll keep everybody's name innocent. And
Yes.
you had heard it. You heard it live.
I heard it from somebody else, and so we had to then come together and we compared notes.
Yeah.
Go.
So,
This is yours, man.
Yeah, so basically
Take the win.
we have confirmation that George Lucas saw the video.
Yeah.
Okay, like confirmation that George Lucas saw the video and that he really enjoyed it, that he thought it was funny.
Right.
And that you know, he particularly liked a few lines, and I'm not going to say which lines, but he particularly liked a few lines inside the video. But to me, what almost put a tear in my eye is that when George Lucas was running Star Wars was essentially like an open source platform for creatives to use, to be inspired by, and to take leaps into their own kind of fan fictions. And I know that there's still fan fiction out there, but it's not like how it used to be. Right? You can't have the robot chickens so much anymore.
Right.
You know, because like those things are completely separate from Star Wars, but we're completely using the IP to make money. And George was like, okay, go ahead.
Right.
Now,
Sure.
yeah.
Whatever.
Now you got our friend Star Wars Theory went through his situation, right?
Right.
We have other fan films like our friends over at the Obi-Wan film that
Yep.
don't have those kind of situations, which is great. But it's like it'd be nice for Star Wars to find some kind of common ground, some kind of like rule set to inspire more people to create more content around these films.
Absolutely. I mean, and even just, I grew up with these, and I base a lot of the fact that I write and that I'm creative off of Star Wars because it got me going. It would make me go to the playground with my friends and create stories in that universe that weren't in the movies, going, what happened? And you getting creative, and it's something that I owe a big debt that I actually told. I was talking to you off air about how I met George Lucas doing the Star Wars trilogy play in 30 minutes and being able to tell the man, there's a reason why I'm here right now is because of these movies. I mean, it inspires so much creativity that continues to this day.
Well, that was kind of the idea behind Skywalker Ranch, in a way, was having
like a
this
commune.
facility, a commune for all these great artists in different skill sets, editors, whatever, and to come together and work on something or different things. I mean, so many things. You know, I made a pilot a few years ago, and I got fortunate to have it mixed at Skywalker Sound.
Oh, it's brilliant.
And
by
I
the
got
way.
to see all the different things people were working on.
It's
over there.
brilliant.
That's
So
beautiful.
so just to give everybody a little bit of like how this all came together. I saw that pilot. Okay, well, not the whole pilot, but I saw
you saw the Walking with George Lucas.
I saw the Walking with George Lucas, and I must have looked at it
zebra bit.
300 times. Like
Oh,
like I just kept playing it and playing it and playing
Yes.
it.
Good.
And as I was playing this video over and over and over again, is when the idea started coming to me. Okay, I know what we do now.
Right.
You know, because man, like there was this one line in particular. There's 2 things in that video that just kill me. One is when you compare George Lucas with the saber and the tramp stamp to the Arthurian like legend.
The word Arthurian is so fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
it's the Arthurian legend of the. He says the idea is, well, I have a tramp stamp on my my ass, and it's Luke Skywalker thrusting the lightsaber, but the lightsaber is going down in between my butt cheeks.
And then the interviewer, Bob Oshak, shout out to Bob Oshak, great writer that I met on the Late Late Show, now writes for Bill Maher. He's like, oh, right, like the King Arthur. Yeah, it's the Arthurian legend of like the sword, but this is the saber in my ass. You know. All improvised.
really,
You know,
it was brilliant.
Well, that's what
Absolutely
I picked up
brilliant.
immediately from shooting this thing was your improv skills are off the chart. I mean, that thing was just I had to walk out of the room a number of times.
I think it helps that I know George so well as I can without having actually met the man.
Sure.
Every book, every biography, seen every documentary 1,000 times. So that's kind of the extra layer to that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, look, for us that are all huge George Lucas fans, the guy's my hero. I mean, let's just call it what it is, you know. And like you reminded me of a quote this weekend that, you know, the one about the impossible.
Best line ever is I think it's the making of Phantom Menace. Got all these guys in the room. You know, John Knowles there, and they're all Coleman, Rob Coleman, all the ILM guys.
Ralph McCallum.
Rick McCallum.
Rick McCallum, yeah.
Rick McCallum was always like, yes, well, we had we had this character, the Yasm, and we had to put it in there. Anyway, so Rick's been around forever. So he brings in all these storyboards, and George has 2 highlighters. One is pink and one is yellow. Pink was for like real set, and then yellow would be anything digital. So he's standing there, highlight, and he's going, real, not so real, real, not so real. And then they cut to everyone else. And they look mortified because everything is not real. And then he goes, well, I know we can do it, but I know we can do it because it's impossible.
I mean, those are
And
words
Rick
to live
McCallum's
by.
like, yes.
Those are words
You
to
got
live by.
it, sir.
I-
We're
You
going
got
to make
it.
it happen.
Once you told me that this week, and I tweeted it out because that's the important bit to, I think, take away from George Lucas's legacy is that there are no ceilings to what you can do. You know, I mean, there's no ceilings. You know, like if you look at any of our lives, right? There's so many points throughout all of our lives where we could have said, you know what, that's too hard. I'm not going to be able to do it.
Right.
When you finance your own pilot, you know, people will probably tell you save that money and buy a Ferrari.
They all said no. Don't do it. Don't put puppets in your pilot. This is like a kid show. Nobody wants that. Don't play a preacher character. George Lucas, nobody cares about that. Those are things that people said over and over and over. George Lucas had to come up with technology and methods of telling a story where they weren't there anymore. They didn't exist at that time. ILM wasn't even a thing.
Right.
How do we,
Skywalker sound wasn't a thing.
How do we figure this out? There's got to be a way to do it. We'd never seen anything like that with the first Star Wars.
THX, I'm sorry, not Skywalker sound. THX wasn't even a thing, and that revolutionized audio and cinema forever because he needed something that wasn't there.
Right.
You know.
Even Jar Jar, I will say, before Andy Serkis and before Gollum, you know, Ahmed Best really is one of the great pioneers of motion capture.
Without a doubt.
It must be said over and over again.
Without a doubt.
He was one of the first, if not the first.
Certainly.
And it's the rack that he got after that is, I mean, he goes into some of the depression he felt off of it, and.
I met him. I talked to him at the Robot Chicken 10th season premiere party because I've done a lot of voices for them. And I had a chance to finally talk to him. And I said, hey, man, I really understand what you went through in a way because when I did the Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson for CBS, I played this talking skeleton character. I was hidden away. I wanted people to know it was me. But then when the show ended, I wanted to be known for something other than that. But there was a lot of hate toward the character in the beginning.
Oh, there it is.
And I said, man, I get it. But we both came to terms with just accepting that there were a lot of people out there that loved it. He's such a nice guy. Ahmed is such a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's such a great thing for him to have that. He fully embraces it now.
Yeah, I mean, he's come back around. But we talk about this divisiveness now. Look at what he went through back in the day.
Yeah, right.
And now here we are, you know, and you have some of the actresses that have to, you know, had to go off of social media because of the hate that they were getting. It just seems to find its way into Star Wars.
Yeah.
And how is that? Why is that?
Well, go ahead.
We're all taking ownership of this property.
Yeah, and I look, you know, speaking of messages that get skewed and then like sent down the wrong path, and there's something that I do want to address, okay? Because I was so happy with the reception of the video and people loved it, and I mean, obviously Josh did such an incredible job capturing George's vibe and still being a fan and funny and all these things. I mean, all that stuff was great. But there was a sentiment that I think needs to be addressed to some degree.
Okay,
and it's
good.
like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, oh, this is an interesting video to come out of Collider since Collider are just a bunch of shills.
Right.
You know?
Oh, right.
You know, and look, at the end of the day, we're not paid by any. I mean, when it comes to reviews on movies, those opinions are the opinions of the people saying it. Okay, I never once look if I had a reporter that works for me or a pundit or whatever that is going to say something that affects me on a business level, I would never tell them to say something else to make it work.
Right.
If I really wanted to protect that business relationship, I would just remove them from that.
Right.
And see if anybody actually liked it.
Yeah.
But it has to be genuine, okay?
Right.
At the end of the day, our press perspective, our kind of editorial perspective, I should say, has to be pure or else it's worthless.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is something that I believe very, very, very strongly in. And it's so easy for people to say, oh, Collider are a bunch of shills because they tend to always be positive on Disney stuff. And at the end of the day, it's because Disney stuff tends to be pretty damn good.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part.
And look, there's stuff that people didn't like people didn't like Solo as much as,
I was lucky. I was nominated for a Shill Award, and I did not like Solo, so I'm glad that scooted underneath the nomination process.
And I think it's important to say that out there. Just it's so obvious that we're not actually paid to say certain things because we're not.
But it's just something that there's a pocket of that internet that does that. It's a thing that they do. It's a thing that they've glommed onto. And every time I see it on Twitter, like, you're just a shill. All right. Fine. I wish I was. I need money for my wedding. So Disney, if you're listening, please. I will take all your money to like the Rise of Skywalker.
And tweet McDonald's. McDonald's has got to get on this.
Yeah, come on. I'll be a
shill. This damn show.
I was a shill for McDonald's this weekend, let me tell you.
Me too. Unfortunately.
That fillet of fish is so good.
Oh,
I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you.
Are you a pescatarian?
I'll eat it all. I don't care.
Right.
That's all I eat is a fillet of fish. Look, we got the Mark Hamill. Here's the most important thing. We got the Mark Hamill seal of approval.
Yeah.
Right.
But then
we get the George Lucas one.
we got George Lucas's seal of approval.
I mean, that's incredible.
That's the mic drop moment. It doesn't matter what anybody else says after that.
Right. That's true.
That blows my mind that George sat there and watched this video and laughed.
Yeah.
And laughed his ass off.
He
supposedly.
loved
That was the quote I heard.
all of it.
Yeah.
That's what I read. That's the message I got from this person I'm not going to name.
Yeah.
Right.
But they know.
But the facts are I got it from 3 different sources, all with the same exact story.
I think he can look at it and go, yeah, all right. I like it.
Yeah.
I just poking fun. I mean, he's been through the ringer. He went through all of the prequel stuff. I think he's on a different level now.
Yeah.
I don't know the man other than from what I've heard here, and I just think it's fine. And I think there's room in this space to try something. When you have the idea to do this, using the deepfake technology, have Josh come in with a bang-up impression. That sounds fun to me.
Yeah. So look, we're up to 1,100 live viewers.
Look at that.
We will take some calls at the end part of the show if you want to call in and ask the great Josh Robert Thompson a question. I'm sure he would love to hear from you guys.
How about we start it off this way? I do have a super chat from Jokage13 and asking, what if Kylo actually wins and destroys everything? I want to start that off with a super chat question. We can go into our main topic, which is some of the things happening there.
Let's save that for a second because I do want to address this whole spoiler leak stuff.
Okay, save the question, you mean?
Yeah, let's save the question. This spoiler stuff. Look, we're not going to talk about spoilers.
No.
here.
I made sure everybody knew in my tweet.
Yeah, we're not
for
talking
those
spoilers.
And for any look, I'm ready to ban anybody that's going to do this.
Yeah,
Please,
same here.
do not.
Cody's got the lightsaber out. He will cut your head off.
Don't ruin it for other people. I already saw one idiot in there just throwing it out there, and I don't even know if they were true or not. How would you know exactly what was coming? But you're out.
Don't do it.
I'm gonna get rid of you. I don't care.
Do not do it.
You might. Yeah, we got De Niro here. He just stepped in the room.
Excuse me.
He will.
Do not spoil this.
Holy shit.
You understand me?
Oh my God, he's gonna take
the
a
fuck-
bat to your
who the
face. You've
fuck-
seen the Untouchables, right?
Who the fuck are you to come in here and spoil this movie?
Pretty good, dude.
You don't even need a deep
I don't
fake
need
that.
deep fake.
Yeah.
We gotta get some deep fake on Rule of Two.
Yeah.
No, they're
absolutely.
using deep fake on the real De Niro for The Irishman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Deep fake is deep fake.
That's right.
But yeah, to your point.
Yeah. So look,
The leaks that are out there.
it's just like, man, it's like
How did this happen? This is like one of the biggest movies of all time coming out
I just
here.
hate people trying to rain on people's parade.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay for me to have my own opinion and be critical of Star Wars, because that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, like, force you to, like, believe in what I believe.
No.
Like, I'm not going to drive it down your throat. I'm going to give you my opinion. But one thing I know for sure that we can all agree on is that people dream about these movies. They have all these thoughts, all these conjectures about what's going to happen. They extrapolate plot points in their mind. And half the fun is being able to sit in that theater for the first time and have that all exposed to you. And like this need for this, like for these, internet people to go out there and spoil this movie, leak it out. There's been a ton of stuff leaked, or not a ton. There's been 2 images leaked. I don't know if you've seen them.
No.
I mean, I got sent them to me by so many different people that I saw it.
I
you
wouldn't
know?
even. I mean, at this point, for me, I'd go, okay, whatever.
No,
I
no.
guess. No. But this is. I
But
worked
still,
at
but for the fandom, it's not
I
fair.
get it. I worked at Blockbuster Video years ago.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, this is nothing new because people would come up to the register and they'd say, "Hey, we're going to rent this movie, Armageddon." Yeah, okay. How does it end? Does it end on? Can you tell me the whole movie? Can you tell me the whole plot? Because I don't want to waste 2 hours of my time without knowing if it's a happy or sad ending, who dies, and what the basic plot is. I mean, this is all the time. And who made the? I'm doing my Jeff Goldblum.
No,
Who
please,
made the,
Goldblum, please show
yes,
up on
Yes,
the-
yes, yeah. Well, sure,
Because?
well, there it is. Fist bump, two fists, like an asteroid. Sure, because what a great movie! What a great movie. No. Robert Zemeckis said
Right.
that regarding trailers, that's why they basically give everything away in trailers because that's people almost want to know the entire thing.
Right.
That's
That's a
interesting.
weird mentality.
Because I thought
Fostered by
the
studios.
Joker gave too much away in the trailer.
Really? You think so? Yeah.
And to Star Wars' credit, these trailers don't give away anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
This
last
one,
one,
it just felt more.
it was a lot of water. There's a lot of water.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Ultimately, there's a lot of waves and water and mystery.
Yeah. And how about the space horses? That seemed to be a real big topic of conversation.
It is the dumbest thing. I mean, that George has ever seen, not me. I love.
right, space horses.
When I saw space horses, I'm like, let's do this. Let's do this.
You know
I'll
what I
take it all
thought,
day.
as an aside? I always thought instead of Benicio del Toro in that holding cell,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it should have been. Can you imagine if we don't see who's in that other jail cell
Mm-hmm.
and we just hear their voice and then they lean forward into the light and it's Lando Calrissian?
Thank you. Yeah.
That makes so much more sense to me.
Yeah.
It would have. I thought maybe that's where they were going, but
I'll call him and we can ultimately
There's
make
so
another
much.
version of
There's
it.
so much that has been thrown out.
Here.
There's so much that has been thrown. Like that whole character, that whole Benicio del Toro character is like the most useless character. Like
I loved him. I
Really?
loved his character. I didn't think
Did he
that
have
he's.
character?
I didn't think. Well, of course, it's like, whatever he
Right,
was
right.
doing. I love that kind of stuff.
He had a stutter.
I can see why people because when you think about Lando, or you think about what was why did they go there to find the code breaker, and it was Justin Theroux, and then it ended up being Benicio. I thought it was a little muddled there. The whole Canto Bite was a little muddled, but for
come
me,
on,
I
yeah.
really enjoyed his character showing that he was the gray, and he was the one that I'm going to sell you out, and I'll sell you out. Don't matter. And that was something that I took from it that I liked. And I know some people share that with me, but I get where you're coming
Well,
from.
what if it had been Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman.
What if there was on this Canto Bite, whatever this bullshit is? Now, hear me out. Now, you got that little orange, whatever her name was, with the goggles and all that. And
Maz Kanata.
terrible scene where she's like, hey, I'm going to go on a date. Always trying to have sex with everybody. The Wookiee and the, right? So then they go, who's in
Just
that?
close my eyes
Who's
and
in
he's
that
in the
cell
room.
over there? And I go, hello. If you get me out, I'm gonna help y'all. I mean, that's how you sell a movie. You put Morgan Freeman on. Oh, I play Lando. Billy D's too old.
Can we do this instead of the crawl?
Yeah.
It's Morgan Freeman just narrating. It's
Exactly.
Like, it is a period of
fine,
Civil
give us-
War.
It's
Give us a little-
it's
yeah.
a period of civil war.
Rebel
The
spies.
space horses have been trapped for eons. But it's up to one girl and her sister and a band full of friends to save the day so that the little Oliver Twist street urchin kids can sweep up at the end, and I don't even know what the hell's happening. All right, on to the next movie.
That's great.
I love it.
So going back to these leaks, what were
Leaks.
How
The leaks are bad.
the leaks are always bad.
Yeah,
the
the leaks
spoiler
are
culture
bad.
is bad. I remember getting yelled at. You talk
awful.
about people wanting the spoilers.
Yeah.
I remember being on movie fights having to talk about the best trailer from Comic-Con, and I chose Deadpool.
Yeah.
And somebody was pissed at me for spoiling the trailer.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
what's
Right,
going on here?
Right.
it's just like I wish that this fandom, this particular Star Wars fandom, is very combative, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even Christian and I, right? Christian and I both we love talking about movies and stuff like that, but he absolutely hates the prequels, and I think he's coming around on Revenge of the Sith a little bit, and at first I was really anti Force Awakens,
Right.
and it seemed like our conversations would always devolve into, my bike is better than your bike, and like your bike sucks,
Right.
and, and they're both kind of like similar bikes, except one's a Huffy, right, the sequels, and one's a Schwinn.
Well, one's better than the other,
right.
but yeah.
I'm the New York Yankees,
Right.
and you're high school T-ball.
Well, who are you to tell me though? Who are you to tell me?
That's a Breaking Bad analogy. That's a Breaking Bad.
But here's the
We're the New York Yankees.
But here's the point. Are you? I mean, who? Damn,
Go ahead.
Walter White. So
I think that they're great movies, and I like them. They're just very good. Now, listen,
I don't want to talk Star Wars. I just want to hear him.
Well, no, I just I happen to think they're good. I just
You caught me.
you got me.
But with these spoilers things, when it
sorry.
comes to
I'm
these
laughing too
movies,
much.
who's its right to ever come at somebody and say you shouldn't like that because it's not good
No one.
to their
No
own
one.
opinion.
No one.
That's their opinion.
Absolutely
So this
no
whole
one.
Last Jedi stuff that people are creating hashtags and groups and videos and all these things. It's basically saying we don't like that movie and you shouldn't because it's bad.
Well,
How
that-
is it
yeah.
they're the ones that determine
Well,
that?
that's permeated all pop culture because
Correct.
Oh, there's
Everywhere.
Jeff Goldblum again. There he is. No, because in comedy, for example, there's a lot of if I find something offensive, I can't just not like it. I have to stop it. And I have to stop it from anyone else enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
That's where we're at with everything.
Right, that's a good point.
We
So
talk
it's
about
not
that on
just-
Collider Live,
Yeah.
especially when in the stand-up world, when Dave Chappelle comes out and does his special, and people lose their mind.
Which is entitled "Sticks and Stones," by the way.
Right.
That's the name of it.
And
he's
he-
giving you a clue as to what's going to happen.
and
Yeah.
he says at the beginning of that
Yeah.
thing, he's like, you know who's the worst? The people that are going to be offended by this. You know who it is? It's you.
Right.
It's you. And he points at everybody. He goes, like, you're making this hard for them, for these stand-ups to come up there and say something.
Yeah,
and,
still
and
be
get,
funny. Still be
Sure.
funny.
Still be
If
funny.
you're not funny, then that's how it works. It's fair, but be funny. But we don't have to cancel everything. This cancel business
Right.
has
Right.
now permeated into what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Having a organizing a group to try to take a film down or redo a film. Game of Thrones had the same thing.
Game of Thrones.
We
I mean,
demand you redo it. For what? You?
I can't. Yes, I can't believe it. It's like cancel episode 9, redo The Last Jedi. There was a question that came at me on Twitter. They go, hey, what if they just retroactively say that the movies that are out now are episodes 10, 11, and 12, and then they go back and remake 7, 8, and 9? I'm like, really?
Well, look,
Come
yeah.
on.
How much?
we're not going to talk spoilers.
No.
We're not going to talk leaks.
God, no.
But we did do an episode where you and I riffed on what we thought the plot was
Okay.
of the Rise of Skywalker. We did it about a month and a half ago.
You're getting dangerously close to spoilers here. If you say
We already talked
might
about
be,
it.
I know that, but I'm doing it for the audience.
Fine.
Because
fine.
if they
You're right.
watch that
You're right.
episode, they
You're
can
right.
connect it to the
Boy,
leaks.
this is you guys aren't.
Yeah.
Look at how serious you are about this. You went.
I am
you're
the
like, hold, now,
gatekeeper.
wait a minute. Now, if we even broach that subject,
Right.
and now me, I'm the worst because I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Here's what happened at the very end. Suck it up.
Listen, I couldn't believe when Gollum showed
Yeah,
up in this and it
exactly.
became
Yeah.
a shared universe. So
At the end.
I just want to be careful because I know there was some people that hit me up on Twitter and they said, legitimately, I'm
Yeah.
going to skip the episode if you talk about it. And I don't want them skipping the episode. I want them to have fun and know
you know
that
what?
we're...
They're right. They're right.
That's their.
Yeah, they're
that's
right
Too
to-
bad
they're right
if you
to.
heard it.
Yeah.
All right, so look.
The worst. I don't care.
But when it comes to these leaks, I want to ask a question. How could this happen based on what we know of J.J. Abrams and Disney and how secretive it is? Is this some like
There's always
angry
the,
trailer
course.
cutter
There's
guy?
angry-
Yeah.
Look, there's also the chance that this is all done purposefully, right? There's a theory in like sports press,
Yeah.
and like sort of sports like scoop hunting,
This is where sometimes I love it because I was going there.
that
Please.
nothing ever gets out without the people wanting it to get out.
Of course.
And I saw
Yeah,
this.
I agree with you.
And I
You
saw
know?
this
Yeah.
online, and I can't remember, but it was somebody on Twitter in the Star Wars kind of conversation that said, "I've heard that this is actually purposeful, that these leaks are putting out there to throw people off."
I buy it.
And
I buy it too.
I like that idea.
That's the new marketing. That's
okay.
the only way to get people's attention
Look
now.
at what the Russos did with Avengers Infinity War. They showed that big, like, what we thought was the Avengers shot, and it had the Hulk running next to him.
Right.
Infinity War, Hulk doesn't show up
Yeah.
except at the beginning.
Right.
So it was a complete misdirect.
And JJ does that a lot too.
JJ
a lot of
does.
misdirecting with JJ.
I always tell the story of CinemaCon where he had the actual con edited out into John Harrison. And this was a month before the movie came out for people at CinemaCon that are industry and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
So
Right.
So look, somebody just wrote in the chat. We're up to 1250, which is nice. Somebody wrote in the
Welcome.
chat that when does the Mandalorian trailer get released? So
we don't know.
we don't know, but if it does get released while this show is happening, please let us know because we may or may not have something to say about it.
No, it's possible.
Could be.
Not sure. It's like
Could be.
Superman, you know.
Yeah.
You're running and put on some kind of outfit or something.
All right, so let me get nerdy with our friend here, Josh Robert Thompson. Josh,
Get deep.
what is your earliest Star Wars memory?
Great question. I love this.
Empire Strikes Back. I remember that my uncle Butch took me to see that movie, and I must have been 5 or 6. And I remember
Around the same
thinking
age, yeah.
that Han Solo died. I didn't understand the concept of the carbonite.
Right.
I didn't really know what was happening. But all I knew is that he died, and I remember crying endlessly on the way back from the theater. And that, my friends, is how
crying,
that's
huh?
how powerful Star Wars is.
Yeah.
Even as a little kid, I understood visually.
Visually, these are tone poems.
But we make jokes, but I mean visually and with the music, I understood the emotion, and I understood that these people were losing a friend of theirs.
Yeah.
And it really deeply affected me.
God, I love
And it was
that.
such a dark ending.
Yeah.
And we had to wait so long to get the next film,
Can you believe back then?
3
Yeah.
years.
1980.
right?
3 years to 83. I had the similar.
Yeah.
I don't remember crying, but I remember being waiting, at least after the movie,
Yeah.
waiting and waiting. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I had a similar story during Empire with my uncle.
Right.
When Vader storms Hoth. Oh, and I got to go to the bathroom, and he took me to the bathroom, and I was shaking. I was so scared.
Right.
I just remember being in the bathroom. He's like, "You all right in there?" I was like, "Yeah." I was just like literally going, "You can do this,
Taking a
Marc.
breather.
You can do this. We got to go back. I was so scared because Vader was terrifying to me at that time. So that
So
Wow.
first
how
time,
it affects.
first time I saw Star Wars, I think it was also Empire Strikes Back, and it wasn't at the theater. The first time I ever saw it, because I lived in Venezuela at the time, and a buddy of ours, like my mom's friend's son, had a VHS copy of Empire Strikes Back that had just come out. And he was like, "Hey, you should see this movie. This is like a big thing in the United States." So he put it on. It was in English, and none of us spoke any English.
Oh wow.
So, but we absolutely loved it, and
Yeah.
we became
You
obsessed
still got
with
it. You under.
Yeah, I totally
Of
got
course,
it.
yeah.
And then I remember my brother and I then asked our mom for Christmas, "Can we get those toys?"
Yeah.
So the first time I saw Star Wars, I didn't even understand what was being said. I didn't even understand the language of it.
And
know?
you got it because it's
Yeah.
a
Can
tone
I
poem.
ask you this question? Do you know if he still has that copy of that version? Because I'd like to get it from him.
Right, because it is
And burn it.
it is the original.
No, you know what? This does go back to George Lucas's idea about that these are essentially silent films. That's the one thing you have to understand if you really want to appreciate these films. And again, I point to the prequels because a lot of people have only seen those films once. That was the big problem with that.
Right.
I've gotten a lot of people myself to go back and revisit them, and they'd say, "Oh, this wasn't what I remember. It's actually better than what I thought." They're like silent films. It's pure cinema. In fact, on my TV, I have a setting where I'll make it black and white, and I've watched them all in black and white.
Oh, have you really?
And they look
That's-
just like the Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers
Wow.
films.
Really?
Like, it's awesome in black and white.
That makes a
So
lot
it's
of
visual.
sense.
You can tell what's happening without any sound whatsoever.
Well, look, I
That's
mean,
cool.
when I was at NYU Film School, that's one of the first things they teach you in screenwriting class.
Right.
Is that when you're writing a script, remember that when you write a scene, if the scene doesn't play without any dialogue and the sound turned off, then you're not writing for movies. You're writing a novel, or you're writing a song or a poem or something else.
Because it's a visual
Yeah,
medium.
it's a visual
People
medium.
forget.
And he and I, before we came on the air, we were talking about some of our favorite moments. Because in my office, I have a poster of Revenge of the Sith, and he was asking me about it, and he was, reminding me of that one scene of Anakin and Padme sort of staring off at each other. Padme is like in her royal apartment, and Anakin is where he is, and then
Across the stars.
and they're staring at each other across the city of Coruscant.
Right.
know?
But that music that plays is called
Yeah.
Across the Star.
No, well,
Across the
actually,
Stars.
yes, but that music that plays in that
Oh, and that
scene
one is different.
is
It's
very unusual for John Williams.
Yes.
It's a choral piece.
yes.
Yes.
And it's very eerie.
It's foreshadowing the inevitable.
But it's such an abstract sequence. And there's an author, Camille Paglia, wrote a book called Glittering Images. In the last chapter of her book, she takes the Mustafar battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin and breaks it down as to her, one of the greatest abstract moments in recent cinema history. She classifies it as pure art because that whole sequence, there's really very little dialogue.
Right.
It's all very wildly abstract.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
very extreme. And if anybody find that book and read that chapter, because I was so elated that she had actually picked that film
Right.
and that moment to discuss art and cinema.
Yeah.
What an interesting choice.
Yeah.
I'll
Absolutely.
tell you this too. David W. Thompson does a scores and soundtracks. And back in the day, he broke down all the music from all the movies.
Yeah.
But the prequel stood out to me because he was able to really go into how beautiful a story it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the music.
Because of the music, right.
The music just being that part of it that really, and I think that's really when I started to go, you know what? These prequels, man, I gotta check this out with new eyes after listening to binging those things. So
There's something else there,
yeah.
especially the Anakin in Phantom Menace. There's a lovely innocence to Anakin Skywalker's theme, but then it carries over into the Imperial March. But it's still an innocent version of that.
Yeah, it's
but
amazing.
it's very eerie.
It's
and
amazing.
Very lovely.
So the phone lines are open 323-522-5515. Call in if you want to ask Josh Robert Thompson any questions.
You have
if
a
wanna
screener,
talk,
right?
The what?
You have a screener, right? Somebody screening the calls?
No.
You don't do that?
No.
Oh,
I mean,
good. All right. See what
Oh.
happens.
Nope, we got a call. You're
all
on
right.
Rule of Two. What's your name? What's your question?
Hey guys, name is Felix. Saludos, Marc. I'm actually from Puerto Rico.
Hey, what's
All
up?
right.
¿Cómo estamos?
Lo más bien.
Okay, great. Chévere.
So, I actually wanted to talk to you guys because I was seeing at the beginning of the podcast that you guys were talking about Game of Thrones and all of that, but I don't know if you've heard recently that they did like a convention.
Yeah.
It was like that smaller convention that it wasn't filmed. It was only like one person live tweeting the event, and they like broke down how they became from like starting Game of Thrones all the way to what was the final season, and basically all summed up, it was like it's a miracle that it actually happened.
Yeah.
Because of all the different like things that they had to go through, and they basically learned on the job. So I'm actually okay with Game of Thrones and everything, with how the story came out and like the past is the past. But after seeing that, I'm actually worried about their trilogy. So I kind of wanted to get what you guys are thinking about that.
Felix, thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you for the call,
we
Felix.
covered this on Collider Live today. Essentially, they got up there, Benioff and Weiss, and basically answered some questions saying it was a very expensive film school for us. We didn't really have a lot of experience with TV. We shot about 33 minutes of these pilots in these episodes, and HBO came back and said, you have to hit your contractually obligated runtime. So they went back, and one of the things that stood out was Robert Baratheon never had a scene with Cersei Lannister, which is insane to think about when you know Game of Thrones. So they would go back, so there was a learning curve for them. So they really didn't have a lot of experience in HBO. But right now the narrative is that HBO just gave it to a bunch of nobodies. Benioff and Weiss had a resume.
Right.
They had worked in numerous things, writing movies and all these things, and I think that it was a learning curve that Wolverine, sure, but he also did. Benioff wrote the 25th Hour, that Spike Lee movie, which is a fantastic movie.
Great film.
It's a great film, and so I wouldn't
Game of Thrones is spectacular. But I'm
I
sorry,
wouldn't
go
be,
ahead.
but the idea that they're now getting pissed at these guys for the first season, forgetting that they found their rhythm.
First season's incredible.
It is incredible. And the second season and the third season,
The
when
whole
they
show's
were with,
incredible.
And
when
where
they
are
were with-
artists supposed to start? I mean,
Yes.
who is anyone to judge?
Right.
Well, this was the wrong time for them to start. I mean,
Right.
you've got to dip your
You
toe
gotta
in the
do
water.
it.
and
It's just
that-
like
what-
Lucas said. You got to learn.
You
Yeah.
got to learn,
And
and it's
sh-
a huge undertaking. I mean,
and-
that's
Yeah, and sure, a lot of people didn't like the last season when they veered from the source material, and I'm I didn't mind it. I loved a lot of the episodes. I thought the finale was.
Yeah, but
it was-
look,
half of it was good, half of it,
Yeah, look, bringing it back to Star Wars, I don't think the Benioff and Weiss thing is happening. Like I've heard different things about it, but that doesn't make me feel any better or good about it. Like there's a few things I don't think are happening, and this is just my opinion. I have no sourcing on this, but I'd be surprised if Benioff and Weiss happens, and I'd be surprised if the Rian Johnson trilogy
not going to
happens.
happen.
Yeah, I'm with you on both of those. One, because the Benioff and Weiss thing, it was originally rumored that they were going to do, or reported that they were going to do a trilogy, and then I heard recently it was like, no, they just might write an outline for the
Right.
first movie. And then, so what does that mean? And
See,
then I
it
couple
feels like
that with
walking back. It feels like
walking
you're
back a little
yeah.
bit, and then some $500 million deal at Netflix.
Yeah.
How are they going to balance that? They might very well have been like, you know what, we're going to go do our thing over here.
Yeah,
And-
Star Wars is
Lucasfilm,
dangerous, man.
They got very smart with this Disney Plus platform. This is exactly what they should have done with Solo.
right.
This, to me, I enjoyed it, but it felt like a TV movie. It felt like I was watching like the Ewok Adventure.
Okay.
It's better than the Ewok Adventure.
How dare you? How dare you?
Caravan of
How dare you?
Courage?
Yeah, that's a fine picture. You're an idiot. ABC Monday night movie.
But it plays better that way, and I'm looking forward to the Mandalorian. I'm looking forward to the Obi-Wan series or limited runs, whatever it is.
Right.
I think that's a better way to go, and I think that the Skywalker saga now needs to stop. That's it. We need to move on. That's why it's more exciting. These new stories.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, like I'm finally catching up on a number of these shows that are out there on streaming platforms, like The Boys. I'm finally catching up on,
So
and
good.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of being able to live in the Star Wars universe for more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're getting deeper characters. And Ewan McGregor, to your point, Josh, just came out and revealed, Obi-Wan was going to be a movie.
Right.
Then Solo happened. We went back to the drawing board,
Yeah.
and now I'm more excited because we get to really dig in deep.
That's where streaming, that's where Netflix and has sort of eclipsed film in a lot of way because
Yeah.
we get to spend more time with these characters. If the story's good, it's worth it.
Yes.
I'm excited to see new stories, just like when all the novels came out with the expanded universe years
Right.
ago, in the early '90s, when we got the Thrawn trilogy. This was unheard of.
Yeah. You know what's interesting though? It brings up a topic that I want to get your take on, Josh. Is that the new stories?
Yeah.
And somebody made fun of Star Wars Twitter on this, going like, stories you've never heard before, new stories that different times, and then they advertise the Mandalorian, which is like still based in the old kind of world that we know
Yeah.
from Return of the Jedi,
Sure.
happening after Return of the Jedi. Where do we go after that? Like, where can we what's new in Star Wars that's different? Is it back in the Old Republic days?
That would be interesting. That's what
I've
a lot of
always
people would
wanted
like to hear
yeah.
about that.
The Old Republic is one that,
I think
that
that's
a lot
the
of
next
people
move.
talk about.
Cinematically, I think that's the next move,
Me too. I go to the first Jedi.
but not for a while.
the first Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first Jedi is a cool one. I just want to give a shout out to Marc Scarbeck, who is already watching The Empire Strikes Back in black and white.
That's
So
awesome.
that's cool.
Yeah. So
I encourage everyone to try this because Frank Darabont made an excellent horror film,
The Mist.
The Mist.
Yeah.
And originally conceived it as a kind of Twilight Zone-esque episode in
Yeah.
black and white. It was shot in black and white, and then he went back and struck another sort of version of it, color-corrected, that I
Right.
own, which is glorious. It
Yeah.
plays better in black and white.
Oh, I imagine
Try it out
so.
with films. There's a bar.
Logan has like a special release
Yes.
inside the DVD for
Right.
the noir version, which
I
is
got
actually
that,
gorgeous.
which
yeah.
is wonderful, and the chrome and steel edition
Oh,
of Mad Max
Oh,
Fury
it's
Road.
great.
It's interesting because I actually think the color one on that one is a little better just because of the feel of the desert and the tone and the fire.
It's a
but they
gorgeous
both
movie.
play well. There's a great spot in Burbank called the Red Door Bar.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little speakeasy.
Yeah.
Now, what the Red Door has that's special is 3 or 4 TV monitors, and they're always playing different films, and they have them all calibrated to be black and white.
Black and white, yeah.
It's something to try with Star Wars because I think for people that didn't care for the prequels, check it out and you'll get a better feel for the sort of serial 1940s feel. Yeah.
Which was his inspiration all along.
Especially Attack of the Clones, which is so Raymond Chandler film noir. It's unbelievable how much that film is
I've
like.
It's very
never-
true
I've
with
never
Obi-Wan's
seen-
like
Yes.
detective
and it's all in the
looking
rain,
for
the first fist fight and
I've never
the
seen
mystery.
I've never seen those movies in black and white.
You got to, man.
That's an interesting thing. I might
You'll like
actually
it.
do that myself.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones being one of my least favorite because
Right.
mostly it's the dialogue with Anakin and Padme that gets me, but it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Obi-Wan and Jango Fett stuff that I love.
Oh, that whole scene where they're basically the subtext is, "I'm going to see you outside,
Yeah.
and kick your ass."
Exactly.
But they're having these pleasantries.
They're like,
it's
"Oh,
one of the
yeah,
best
hi."
edited sequences in that.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he and I always talk about it, but like the space flight, the space chase that ensues after that with those sonic
Oh,
charges.
Ben Burtt's work on that is
It's one of the best
the
sound
idea of the
effects in Star
absence of
Wars.
sound and then
Yeah.
an immediate explosion of
Right.
sound.
Yeah. So I
amazing.
actually learned this weekend. I was doing a little George Lucas, like research on my own, as I tend to do sometimes.
interesting.
Yeah. That Ralph McQuarrie actually didn't want to work on the prequels.
Right, it's Doug Chang.
And somebody else came in on the whole prequel stuff.
Yeah.
And that some people, like there's a group of people out there that blame that change in the prequels having that more glossy look to it. But I love the look of the prequels, but I didn't know until this weekend that McQuarrie actually could have worked on the
That's
prequels
interesting.
and actually did it.
Kasdan as well, as from a writing standpoint. Lawrence Kasdan, I didn't want to. George had asked me to do it, and I said, "Well, I'm busy doing other things, but I'll come back with my kid, and we'll write
We'll do
something.
solo.
Who cares?" No, but yeah, I mean, I like the look. It again, it does look like the old Buck Rogers Flash Gordon, especially Padme's ship. I mean, that's right out of Flash Gordon. That silver bullet
absolutely,
look.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's glossier. It's newer technology, but I don't know. I like
Do you
it.
do an Emperor?
It's not that good. I mean, it's
pretty good.
It comes out of John Carradine.
So John Carradine was one of the great actors, a fine motion picture actor. My son David and Keith and all these other people, and you sort of get there and put it on there. Yes, yeah.
That's
something
pretty
like
damn
that.
good.
Not bad. Not
That's
bad.
pretty good.
Oh,
I'm
really?
gonna. Oh, we got a call. We got a call. Hey, you're on Rule of Two. What's your name? And what's your question? Hey,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
So I was, so with the return of Palpatine, I was kind of curious what your guys' thoughts since the Sith have been so absent from this trilogy.
Yeah,
What do you
it's a
guys
good question.
going to-
I think about it all the
What do you
time.
guys think is going to happen with just like the Sith going forward in the franchise? And do
Yeah.
you guys think they'll ever explore more of like the love and passion side of the Sith, like was kind of hinted to during the prequels with Anakin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a great
good question, and we're going to get to it in a second. But let me ask you something. Did you watch the George Lucas video?
Absolutely, yeah, it was hilarious.
All right, awesome, man. Well, thanks for supporting us, and thanks for the call, bud.
Do it.
I think to answer your question, I
There
think
it
they're
is,
probably
there it
going to go into Sith stuff, and I think there's a perfect place for it, and that's Disney Plus. I think we could probably see a really great Darth Bane series if these are popular. But for Rise of Skywalker, I think we're finally going to see the Sith troopers are there. I think we're finally going to get the why they're not there.
This is where I'm going to get on my soapbox for 2 minutes.
Oh boy, here we go.
Maybe less. Bringing Palpatine back is, I think, an embarrassment
Okay.
to this franchise.
Really?
Okay,
Embarrassment. Yeah.
He's the one that connects the entire saga.
because the entire point of episodes 1 through 6
I know. It's
is
killing the
destruction of this Sith Lord.
right.
Okay? Now, if you set up Snoke as the heir apparent to the throne of Palpatine, and he's got his own ways of manipulating the Force. He's got his own relationship with the Wills, maybe.
Sure.
He understands how to manipulate midichlorians in a way that's never before been seen. He can do things that nobody else can do, and that's how he was able to lure Ben Solo away from his uncle. Okay, fine, great. There's a new evil. Evil, like, patterns repeat themselves.
Right.
The destruction of Sheev Palpatine is what 6 movies are about. There's nothing in episodes 7 or 8 that would give you even an inkling that this is happening out there in the galaxy.
Yeah, there's no hint that there is some darker, larger force at work in either of those films.
I
There's no
completely agree
because
with
if they
you.
had set
and this
that up,
is,
that would have been amazing. We'd be
Right.
like, I think is that the Emperor?
Right.
Now.
unless you take John Williams' score
Like
during
if there was
Force
an
Awakens.
undertow, if there was an undertow of the Emperor in 7 and 8. Oh my God! Okay, great. Something
Which I'd
happened.
argue there was that John Williams was tipping his cap at it when they played the scene. The music from Revenge of the Sith plays during our first meeting of Snoke. So I could argue, but I'm kind of with you. I know that there hasn't been a lot of hinting at this. So it's all in the what do we say every time, Fernandez? It's all in the execution.
Yeah.
And JJ has a lot to
fine, but it's still,
explain.
It has a lot to explain, but it also negates. Like, forget about, you know how people just say, oh, George Lucas killed my childhood because the expectations of the prequels weren't as good as the original trilogy, right? But people say that. People say that, okay?
do, I
Oh yeah,
I get
that
that.
was a big thing during the prequels. Is George Lucas
But killing
killed
my
my
childhood
childhood.
is a different thing than negating the entire narrative premise of
Correct.
6 movies.
You can't. It's like, you kill this main character. You've got the balls to do it. You've said this is the end, and then there's some more money to be made. So we'll bring this character back. It's weak storytelling. Very weak. Yes.
again? May I remind? I always
there
say,
it is. I got it.
wait for the movie.
Yes.
Wait for the movie before we start to.
I understand.
On paper, yeah. When the Emperor was revealed to be coming back, I was like, huh. I mean, nostalgia. I lost my mind when the laugh happened at Star Wars Celebration.
Little green friend.
So is Yoda going to show up and go, round 2 now?
Not from
Hell
a
yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah. So I am excited for the idea of the Emperor being there and connecting the saga. However, I am a little bit hesitant to both of your points.
Well,
how is it going to work out? That's my question.
Well, we go back to Revenge of the Sith. We go back to the other incredible sequence, which is, of course, the Opera House sequence.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that may be
That's
where
a
we
seed.
need to look
He
to.
became so powerful.
What does he say?
He became so
powerful that he could even stop. What are the people?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
From die. Oh, he could create life.
yeah.
Can I learn this power?
Not from a Jedi.
Max Bishop
Can you
here.
show me this power?
Max
Oh, I'm
Max
sorry, yeah.
Bishop here
That's it,
is on a super chat
Yep.
talking about this very thing, trying to wrap my head around
There it
why Palps is back.
Yep.
I assume he wants to rule the galaxy, but what about the current landscape prompted his comeback? Additionally, how did he die off? Presumably, he's too much for Rey and Kylo. It really is. How did he come back? Because last I checked, that Death Star blew up.
Well,
so it'd have to be
yes,
something that happened right away.
But it's terrifying to think that kind of malevolent evil would have been sitting there growing and waiting this entire time.
Hold
Did
on,
you
but-
ever
for
get
some
into
specific reason?
But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got to cut both of you off here. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a shot in the trailer where Kylo and Rey are in the Emperor's room
Yeah.
on the Death Star.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, how's that
This
fair?
Death Star exploded.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
There's glass is still up there.
Oh no.
hell of a window treatment.
The Emperor's chair is still standing upright. It's
Yeah.
like what? Like what?
Empire Windows. You want windows that aren't destructible? Call Empire Windows. We did the Death Star, the second Death Star. Look, the throne room's still around. Hey, the material that black boxes are made of on airplanes, that's what the throne room is made of. Call now.
Yes. You
Again.
want this?
I
don't know.
understand, but why are you why is this analytical way of thinking going towards the Star Wars? Like being like, how is that throne room still standing? But why?
No, because the reason I'm doing that here's the point.
Okay.
The reason you do that and you make like fun of it is because there's an arrow of time to reality, okay? And right now there's an arrow of time in the Star Wars reality. If you look at it as its own contained world, there's an arrow of time where the second Death Star blew up into smithereens.
Right.
It wasn't like it had a hole in it, it lost orbit, and it collapsed into the atmosphere. It exploded.
And it was half finished also, by the way. So there wasn't a lot to blow up on that second.
Right. But it exploded.
Very good point.
And like what bugs me is that, and look, I got to be honest, it's not so much 7 and 8. 7 and 8 weren't negating what happened through episodes 1 and 6.
Right.
It seems like episode 9 in particular is saying, "Oh my God, we're supposed to end the saga now. What do we do?"
That's you know what,
And like,
dude,
so
that's my biggest concern right now is to lean too much on nostalgia, like bring in all the bells and whistles to be like, it was why I had a problem with Solo, because it was like, hey, you wanted to see this? Well, here it is. Here, like,
Did you want to know how Han Solo got his name? Check out this scene.
Yes, exactly.
What is your name?
Yeah.
I'm traveling alone. Solo it is.
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder how Chewbacca got his nickname? Well, I can't call you Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I'll call you Chewie. That and other exciting origins in Solo.
I'm with you. That's some of the problems that I'm having, that maybe there was a course correction after Last Jedi. Being like, oh, we got to get back to like all of this.
This is why I love this show. This is why I love this fandom. Because here we are 60 minutes into this show. Okay, we're about to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
We're up to 1,300 live.
Look
The
at
live viewers aren't going down.
They're going up.
They're going up.
Yeah.
Okay? Because people love this friggin' franchise.
Yes.
And it's like, it's okay to like Last Jedi and Phantom Menace and all of it. It's all good.
I'm glad you're
but
saying
it's
it.
also okay to be critical about the things that you don't love.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be that way.
Well, it's okay. That's fine, but it's also okay to recognize that, my series is the better series. I mean, there's because there comes a point
the original trilogy or the prequels.
That's all 6 of those films.
That's very true.
Because
yeah.
it's the story of Anakin Skywalker. It's you take someone who's pure and good, and how do they become corrupt? And that's what the saga. Excuse me, I'm said it incorrectly there.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And why is there more story? We don't need it. There's no more story.
One thing that I heard you say, George,
Yes.
that has completely changed my view of how I look at characters in film, period, is how when you created Anakin Skywalker, you wanted to create a villain who was ultimately the victim.
The victim, sure. Well, that's Joker. I mean, you want to look at it. That's a modern example. You go watch Joker. He ultimately becomes and it's a difficult topic because people go, well, you can't. He's not a hero. I didn't say he was a hero. I just said he's somebody who was a product of the system. Is Joker? Is he a bad guy? He does bad things.
Watch
Is
our
Anakin
review.
Skywalker a
That's
bad guy?
exactly where we went with
He does
that.
bad things. He kills women and children. Granted, they're sand people, so who cares?
George, what the hell, man?
George, ultimately, I'm just
George
saying,
went
who cares?
dark.
Who cares? Who cares?
All right, we got one last super chat. We'll end it with that.
Yeah, one last super chat. Is it from Madison Blake?
Yeah,
okay,
read it out.
I'm thinking these supposed leaks are purposely misdirection, maybe JJ Lucasfilm leaking. I don't know. But you think Lucasfilm are good at keeping things tight-lipped? They have been tight-lipped before.
Been good. Yeah, they've been good at it.
And I think there's something on that maybe there are some purposeful leaks to kind of set it,
All right, so
it's the modern way of marketing.
Perry Adair does have a great question for George. We'll take George questions for only the next 60 seconds.
Okay.
You have a question for George? Write it in the super chat. We'll
boy.
take questions for George. One of them, George, how much can you bench?
Oh, jeez, it's been a long time. How much can I bench? Let's see, 4.5 billion. Oh, sometimes I kill myself.
Oh, I love that.
All right,
love
you guys
that.
have 30 seconds to get another question in for George. What else do we got?
You didn't answer my super chat, says Keegan. I didn't see it. Sorry, we were taking
Keegan.
some calls. Let me see if
The
I can find
The alternate answer would have been 12 parsecs.
it. 12 parsecs. Shoot, it disappeared. Sorry about that.
It's technology. That's
Yep,
what happens.
technology.
It's digital.
It's digital. So,
All right, we got one last one. All right, last one.
Okay.
George, how do you correctly pronounce Naboo and Dooku? It's a good question.
It's Naboo.
Naboo?
It's Naboo, and it's Dooku. So now you understand that I wrote all of this. It's Han Solo. It's Saga.
Mm-hmm.
It's Princess Leia. It's Obi-Wan.
Yep.
And Anakin Skywalker, you got to say Anakin really quickly, right?
Anakin.
It's Anakin. Anakin. Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker. Somebody take that soundbite. Here, we'll do this. Somebody take that soundbite right now and make some kind of a master mix.
Perfect.
Anakin Skywalker. Saga.
All right,
There you go.
last question.
Okay.
Ready?
Sure.
Marvel or DC, George?
Oh, it's DC. Come on. Because DC's taking bigger risks.
Yeah.
You know, Marvel is great and all, and I enjoy it. And Marty's an idiot. Marty and Francis are buffoons. Francis is making stupid films in his winery. Nobody cares about him, and whatever. So, but listen, it's DC. DC's taking shots. They're taking pot shots and chances, and they're digitally removing guys, beards and shit.
All right.
They try
on
though.
that
They try.
note,
On that
Josh,
note,
man, thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Josh
guys.
Robert Thompson,
Thank
where
you.
can people
What a
find
blast.
you, please?
We got a lot of work to do
You can
together.
find me a lot of work. The JRTshow.com, JRTshow.com. Your one-stop shop for Josh Robert Thompson.
I love it. Thank you for
Smile.
joining us,
Thank
man.
you.
It's
Thank
been a
you, guys.
pleasure.
And
I
dude,
could
if you
listen
guys-
and talk forever.
Do yourself a favor, stop watching this video, leave a comment, something nice, hit the up bell, subscribe, all that good stuff. But go watch Walking with George Lucas.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant. And while you're there on that channel, look at all of Josh's other stuff. He's got great stuff doing Robert De Niro, and it's just so much great content on that channel.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
Make sure you check out his stuff.
Thank you very much, Josh, and thank you, Marc Fernandez, and thank you, everybody out there, the Rule of Two Army. It's been episode 64. We hope to have the Mandalorian trailer dropping soon.
So we're gonna do something different. Okay, this will be the first time this happens.
Okay, I know where you're going with this.
Instead of me doing it, he's gonna do the catchphrase
You got to say "Rise."
to close out the show.
I'm going to cue you up right now.
That's the whole Rule of Two
Okay,
thing.
all right.
We start it and we end it
Got it.
with that.
All right.
And you're gonna get queued up.
All right.
Here we go. Thank you again for joining us here on Rule of Two, episode 64. We will see you next week.
Rise.